Hey everybody, this is Yaz My Life, and again, part 3 of this video, and this is my second time trying. We'll see how many times it'll take. You know, all of a sudden people call me, I tell people that I'm about to do something, and they come around. So this happens. It's happened a lot. Every time I post something important, the other side really tries really hard for me not to do so. So let's get back to it.
Well,
See, here we go.
That. And so that 10 years later, as it pops up, the first thing you might think that God was talking to you in the temple, because they did that in the temple. That's how they get proof that God is in the temple. These people that walk out of the temple, maybe there really is a real Mormon God, I don't know, but what I saw was manufactured visions. So you get forced into a special room, shown a projection. This is Jesus. I want you to marry such and such on this date. You walk out of that room. You remember you saw Jesus in the temple. You don't remember it was a film on the wall, and you don't remember the mask coming over you because you had twice the dose of gas when the mask came on. They lowered the dose as you saw the vision on the wall. And then as they were fading it away, they're yelling into your head how they want you to remember this when you remember it the next morning or the next day. And then you walk away taking a pill that when you go home and wake up the next day, the whole day is fuzzy, and someone has to ask you, what did you do yesterday? Oh, I went to the temple. Oh, I had a vision to marry. And so it starts popping up and popping up. I think I'm really good at it. And so I'm trying to explain it the best I can.
so when you were a child and all of this was going on, was it just in your neighborhood, and most of this was happening in your neighborhood and at your house, where these Mormons were, handling you, having you sexually abused, drugged, watching you, filming you? This was the people who are in the high up Mormon church now, Bednar, Oaks. Who else can you name that's in, the higher echelons of the church right now that you saw involved when you were a child?
Okay, I was listening to you, that was loaded stuff, and you pulled up all kinds of names of where it happened, and then you started talking about names, and so we got to do one or two of those. So, I mean, I have strong memories of Queen Mary event, Disneyland, multiple locations, multiple years as an adult, as a kid, Knott's Berry Farm, Six Flags Magic Mountain is what it's called now. SeaWorld was a big one in San Diego in 1975, 6, 7, and then we did it back again in 13. I'm pretty sure it was more clandestine. No, it was 2021, and that was much more clandestine. And I was an
What
adult.
was happening in those locations? What was going on?
Multiple filmings with drugged events of repressed memories of what happened right before this ride, or what happened before that ride, or what happened in this particular room. Along with you walk away, I had Disneyland, I had a fun time. My whole class went to Disneyland, and then the next day they want to know who remembered what, because at certain rides, each kid was going to get tagged with a certain memory event that gets chemically repressed.
So when you're talking about these events and these memories of events, the memories, what is happening in those memories?
So I'll give you an example of Disneyland. So we're at Space Mountain. This is 1994. I'm at Disneyland with my family, with my first wife. We're in the line to go to Space Mountain. We get pulled into another room in the line to Space Mountain, which might have been another ride. I can't remember all that. And so we sit in these chairs that move and go back and forth while the video is shown on the screen. And that's a real ride. I don't know the name of it. But that particular one, and the people that were in line in front of me and in line after me, got pulled into this room, maybe 20 people. And while this was going on, right before it started, professional people came in, whether they were, I think they were Mormons, came in, offered a drink to me, a cocktail drink, and to my wife. And they had it on a silver platter. They're always in cute little uniforms and stuff. And it's a drug drink. And then they have headphones. I always get headphones, so I get audio instructions. And they were telling me I was going to divorce my wife and all this kind of stuff on the date that I was going to divorce her, and I was going to marry a Mormon, and that a prophet had a vision future for me. And by the time I can spit my drink out and throw the headphones in and figure out what the hell, the next thing you know, I'm in a Disneyland. I'm finishing watching the rest of the ride. And there's a person always there to steer me and guide me, that if I like, what the hell was that? I start getting angry, I start pushing that memory before it completely fade. There's a show of force, remind me there's a gun in the hands or something like that. And then as they see that I'm just back to normal again, trying to figure out what I missed, then they disappear.
Okay, so back to when you were a child and all of this
That was
was
adult.
happening.
That was an adult. I gave you an adult.
Yeah, that one was an adult. Yeah, but before we were talking about as a child, when what members of the church that are still involved in the church were involved in this program that was handling and abusing, taking you to these weird dressing up as a clown or a joker, all of that stuff. Like what Mormons in the higher echelons were there?
Almost all the prophets and apostles that have been around since 1968, with the exception of David McKay. If I met him, I was less than 2 years old, and only from being shown video of it at age 17. Almost all of them, and each one of them, if we bring their names up, it's going to pull up a different video in my mind of where we were. But so, an example of a kid, we talk about multiple things when we start talking. So, as a kid, I went to Disneyland to Tom Sawyer's Island. You've been at Tom Sawyer's Island, there's some rocks that are tunnels through there, and I'm walking through this tunnel, and next thing I know, I come across 3 or 4 Mormons. Monson, Bedner's always around. He's the muscle because he's only like 10, 15 years older than me, and he's willing to get mean as a young 20-year-old to an 8-year-old kid. You don't have a problem with that. And as a kid, I kind of learned how to fear the 20-somethings more than I did the 50-somethings. The old men usually shouldn't be dangerous, but they were. But they used, Bednar was the muscle, just like Monson was the muscle back in the 50s and the 60s and became an apostle for it. Bednar became an apostle and becoming a prophet, like Monson did, based on his muscle. Like Nelson became an apostle and a prophet based off his medical knowledge of drugs that cause erections, which were giving the old men who had sexual dysfunction. He knew a surgical gas and a surgical drug before the little blue pill ever came out. I forget what it's called. Viagra. Before Viagra ever came out, they caused chemical priapism. So I'm on video and 17 years old, suffering from that they gave it in a cookie form. So yeah, they cause erections that don't go away for a long time. They're scary shit. You've never been exposed to that. Of course, the answer to it is to have a sex, and then it makes it go away.
Yeah.
But I see this erection before anybody knew what Viagra was, and it won't go away. You have to have sex with me, and they use that, and then they're real forceful about all that stuff. Anyway,
Okay.
Tom Sawyer's Island. I'm in the labyrinth. I'm going through it. Next thing I come around, I got Bednar, Monson. I think it was Benson, and they got a girl about my age, and they tell me that they're going to give me my first kiss with a girl, and the girl just French kisses me and tongue, and they got a video camera. Their big cameras bigger back then. They weren't those small ones, and then of course they had the best stuff. And so the smaller cameras started popping. I saw the first handheld one in 76, 77, but it was still a bit bigger. And I think they came from Japan. They always said it came from Japan when we say we didn't see stuff. Anyways, I got my first French kiss from a Mormon girl, and I had no knowledge of it the next day at school, and then drugged again. Stuff like that, all kinds of stuff like that.
What would be their intention of doing that? Why would they want to give you a kiss and then take away the just to see if they could?
They predicted I would be a Mormon. I would be a Mormon as an adult. They predicted that I would convert into Mormonism, and they presented that in a paranormal fashion as 100% facts. And I'm not religious. I've never been religious. And if a ghost doesn't just appear in front of me and command me to become a Mormon, even then I'd probably be like, what kind of drug was that? What kind of a delusion was that? I don't believe in that kind of stuff. Anyways, when at 17 years old, when they guaranteed I would be a Mormon, and I'm looking at the military, and they're like, yeah, we want you to be a Mormon, man. It's really good stuff. It's all about the mind, psychology, all that kind of stuff. You're living on the West Coast and all that kind of stuff. And like, what? How do you know that? It's like, because we're going to help you remember enough to get to the next level to make this paranormal thing appear to be real. Okay.
So as far as I know, well, I mean, my knowledge is that.
Okay. If you guys don't believe him, he's on Facebook as James Davidson, and you can ask him yourself. He's incredible with numerology, and he posts about how they use numerology for birth dates, death dates, and other dates for temples and things. So I'm going to let you guys go, and let's do part 4 later. Bye.